All right, so you just bought the Zhiyun Weebill S and you have no idea how to set it up or balance it. Well, you've come to the right video because I'm gonna show you that. And by the way, great job on purchasing this gimbal because it is my favorite gimbal. It's extremely affordable, it's lightweight, durable, and it's perfect for traveling. So I'm very happy with this gimbal and I'm sure you will be too. So I have my Sony a6500 here with an FE28 f2 lens. It's a fairly light setup because I'm using my heavier Sony a7 III to shoot this video. But anyway, I'm gonna show you how to get it balanced correctly on here and just how to set up and fire up your gimbal. So the first step is just to put the camera aside for 1 second and set the gimbal down, and I'm gonna grab the base plate. Your base plate probably has some sort of lens support on it that looks like this. Just take it off, you're not gonna need it. I've used all sorts of sizes of lenses and you'd never need the lens support. So you're gonna take the base plate screw, and there are a number of hash marks on the bottom from 0 to 7. You're gonna put the screw all the way at the 0 and tighten it up. And once it's in there correctly, you should be able to slide it freely like this. Now you're gonna take your camera. You're gonna have the lens on the same side of the base plate as this little arrow that you see on the base plate. So lens facing this way, arrow, and you also have this release pin here. And I'm going to just attach the camera to the base plate. You can leave a little bit of room. You want maybe like a centimeter or so just of carryover. And you can use a screw or a good old kitchen knife to tighten it up. Or a coin, I should say, not a screw. You can use a coin or a kitchen knife to tighten the screw. And now we're gonna just set this aside for 1 second, and we're gonna take the Weebill S. So on the Weebill S, you have some locking mechanisms. You have a lock here, you have a lock here, and you have a lock here. We're going to unlock the roll motor, which is the back motor. We are going to swing it up and we're going to lock it perpendicular to the table. And I shouldn't have to say this, but it says this side up. So make sure this little sticker, in fact, is this side up. Now, you are going to take this swinging arm and your camera on your base plate, and you're gonna slide it in like so. Just make sure that this little lever is released. And it's just gonna pop in like that, and you should hear a click, like that. And there you have it. You've done step 1 successfully. Now, before I go any further, I just wanna share one secret to balancing a gimbal, and this applies for any gimbal. Your ultimate goal is to get the center of gravity of your camera and base plate aligned with the axes of each of the motors. So let me say that again. You want to get the center of gravity of your camera and base plate aligned with the axes of each of the motors. There is a magic spot somewhere where these axes intersect. That is the perfect spot to get the center of gravity in. And once you get the center of gravity of the camera setup in line with the intersection of those 3 axes, your gimbal will be perfectly balanced. So let's just walk through that very quickly. Okay, so the first step then is to find the center of gravity of your camera. Obviously, the center of gravity is not somewhere here, because if I were to put this on my finger and let go here, you would see that the camera would fall this way. The center of gravity is not here, because if I were to balance this on my finger and let go, the camera would fall like that. The center of gravity is very often somewhere in line with the barrel of the lens and about 1 or 2 inches out from the sensor. So the center of gravity is in the camera somewhere about here. So if I were to try to balance this, I wouldn't recommend that you do this with your expensive camera, but you can see that I can balance it pretty well right about there. So with that in mind, I'm gonna take this center of gravity and try to get it in line with these axes. So slipping this back in, I want to just try to get it in line with this motor, which, like I said, is like right about there. We're gonna come back to it, so no, it doesn't have to be perfect. Now we're going to lock this little latch here. And then we are going to face the camera so that the lens is pointing up. And we're going to unscrew this little knob here. And what that allows is for the camera to slide down and up like so. So now if I have the camera all the way this way, you can see that it's falling down, so I need to go back that way. And it's falling down that way, so it's too far. Remember, I want this shooting straight up. So I'm making micro adjustments here. And that's about right. So now I just tighten that. And let me just give you a little pro tip. This can be very frustrating your first time getting started. So if you find yourself red in the face and you're about to throw the gimbal out your kitchen window, just set it down, take a breath, walk around the room, come back to it 5 minutes later. I found that always helps. I remember I almost went crazy trying to balance gimbals when I first bought them many years ago. But you will learn, and it's just like any other skill, you have to practice, and I can balance any gimbal now in like 60 seconds, so it gets a lot easier. So now that this lens is pointing up, that's about right for now. And for the purposes of this video, and in the interest of time, I'm not gonna get it perfectly balanced, but you can see that it's facing up. So now when I push the gimbal back down, it stays about place. Now I want to unlock this motor, and here you can see that if I let go of the gimbal, it's falling that way. It means the center of gravity is too far to this side of this motor, we gotta go that way. So what we do in that case is take this little latch at the back, slide the camera over, and that's about right, I'd say. Right about there looks about right. So now we tighten it back up. And finally, you have the bottom motor. So what you do on this one, and what you can do and make it easier, is just lock all of these off. So now you hold the gimbal perpendicular to the floor like this, and you unscrew the knob, and you unlock the lock. And you can see that the camera is going that way. So I need to make micro adjustments and get the center of gravity. Now I've gone too far now, and it's falling to that side. So it was falling this way, now it's falling this way. So I need to come back this way. And there you go, that's about it. So now I'm gonna tighten this knob. And now I'm going to unlock all of the arms. And this is where I can make my final adjustments. So when the gimbal is perfectly balanced, you should be able to point it in any direction and it should stay there. So right now, it's not perfectly balanced. It's pretty darn close. I'm gonna just try to fix it for you guys because I know you want to see it perfectly balanced. So the problem it looks like we're having is that it's still falling ahead. So that means I need to take it back like just a fraction of a hairline on these little hash marks. Let's see if that'll do it. And there you go. The gimbal is perfectly balanced. And here's a tip for you. There are little hash marks, as you can see here. On every motor, there are little hash marks with numbers. Once you have your lens set up perfectly balanced, write down those hash marks so that the next time you go to balance your gimbal, all you need to do is line up the hash marks again. You don't actually have to balance it. You'll have all of your settings saved. All right, so once your gimbal is balanced, you're gonna hit the power button on the side to fire it up, and it'll come to life like that. The first thing you wanna do is go to the menu settings, and you do that by pushing the down button on the scroll wheel, go to motor, then push the right button, and then push the right button again to go to auto. And that is going to auto-tune the motors. So you're just gonna let it auto-tune for a second. It's gonna wiggle around and vibrate and do some weird stuff. But that's gonna make sure that the motors are set correctly for the weight that you have. And then it'll say check OK. And now I'm gonna show you the different modes. So right here on the side of the gimbal, you have PF and L. I'm gonna put it into pan follow. Pan follow means that if I pan to the left, if I pan to the right, the camera follows. If I tilt down or tilt up, the camera does not follow because I'm in pan follow, not tilt follow. If I flip this little switch here down to L, which means lock, I can do anything to the gimbal. I can tilt it around like this, I can go like this. The camera is not gonna follow because it's in lock mode. If I wanna go into follow mode, I just hold the trigger. So there's a trigger right here, and let me just reset this by double tapping. That's another trick. If you wanna reset the gimbal to front, you just double tap the trigger. Now, if you wanna go and follow, so let's say I wanna tilt down and I want the camera to follow, I hold the trigger, I tilt down, I tilt up, and you can see that the camera is following. If I pan to the left, if I pan to the right, it follows. That's the basic way to set up and balance the gimbal, and those are the basic modes that you're gonna need. And like I said, there are a ton of review videos if you haven't already bought this gimbal. It is my absolute favorite gimbal at the moment. I take it everywhere. It's super light, it's super well built. It is plastic, but they did that to keep the price down, but it's a hard plastic, so there's no problems with it at all. And the batteries last for like 10 hours. I've used this for 10 hours before. You can get the follow focus mode, but I never use it. Thanks for watching.